We are right on the edge of a world that used to be pure science fiction, a world where technology can actually read our minds. These things called brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, they're getting supercharged with AI, and it's opening up possibilities that are just incredible. But as we're going to see, it also brings up some of the biggest, deepest questions we've ever had to ask ourselves about privacy, about control, and, well, about who we even are. So just try to imagine this for a second. You're paralyzed from the neck down, and then all of a sudden you can play the piano again, just by thinking. That's what happened to Nancy Smith. But the way she described it, it was weird. It wasn't like she was controlling it. She said it felt like the piano was playing itself, like the machine just knew the music. And that strange, almost magical feeling, that gets right to the heart of what's happening with this tech. And here's the really wild part. This wasn't just a simple, think of a note and the piano plays it kind of thing. No. The system was so advanced, it could detect her intention to play a note before she was even consciously aware she'd made the decision. It was tapping into her preconscious thought. That is a massive leap beyond just reading simple commands. So yeah, this story is really powerful, and it grounds all this crazy technology in something deeply, deeply human, getting a part of your life back. Okay, so what exactly is a brain-computer interface? Let's break it down. Basically, it's a direct line of communication between your brain and an outside device. It reads the electrical signals buzzing around in your head, analyzes them, and then translates those signals into commands. So you can control a robotic arm or type on a screen, all just by thinking about it. And here is the real game changer. The first PCIs, they focused on the motor cortex, the part of the brain that tells your body to move. But the newer ones, like the one Nancy used, they're listening to different parts of the brain, the parts that are all about planning, reasoning, and intention. And that lets them decode so much more than just simple movements. They're getting into deeper, more abstract thoughts. Now, it's really important to understand that this technology is basically splitting into two very different worlds. You've got the clinical stuff, and then you've got the consumer stuff. So on one side, you have these clinical BCIs. These are the serious ones, surgically implanted, super precise, and heavily regulated by medical authorities. Their whole purpose is to restore function, to perform miracles for people with severe paralysis. But then you have this other exploding market, consumer neurotech. These are the wearable gadgets, headbands, headphones that you can just buy online. They promise to boost your focus or make you better at meditating. They're way less precise, and honestly, the market is like the Wild West. There's almost zero legal oversight. And this is where the plot thickens, big time. Because the one ingredient that's unlocking the true power and the true danger of all this, it's artificial intelligence. See, the signals you get from a wearable headband have always been really messy. Just a lot of electrical noise that's hard to make sense of. But modern AI, it's unbelievably good at finding patterns in all that noise. It can clean up the signal and turn that messy data into something reliable, something usable, which means those consumer gadgets are suddenly becoming way more powerful than they ever used to be. So what can AI actually decode from our brainwaves now? Well, get ready for this. It can tell your overall brain state, like if you're focused or tired or anxious. It can spot something called an error signal, which means it knows you're about to make a mistake fractions of a second before you do. And some early studies are even showing it can start to decode internal dialogue and even the subconscious sparks that come before a thought. This incredible power, well, it brings us face to face with the peril. As these devices get more popular, we have to ask a really scary question. What happens to the most private data imaginable, the raw data of our own thoughts? Right, so like we said, it's the Wild West out there. Unlike those clinical devices that are covered by strict medical privacy laws, this whole consumer market has basically no rules protecting your neural data. None. So check this out. The Neuro Rights Foundation recently did an analysis. They looked at the data policies of 30 of the top consumer neurotech companies. And the results are, honestly, they're jaw-dropping. 97% of them, almost every single one, had policies that gave the company complete and total control over the user's brain data. Just let that sink in for a second. So what does complete control really mean? It means they can do whatever they want with your brain data. They can sell it, and that data could then be used to guess at your mental health, your political leanings, and then to manipulate you or even discriminate against you based on that. Neuroethicist Marcello Ianca just nails it with this quote. He says that If you think the data economy we have now is invasive, adding our brain activity to the mix is like giving steroids to the existing data economy. It just juices up all the problems we already have with data privacy to a whole new level. And that leads us to the final, and maybe the deepest, most unsettling question of all. This isn't just about what happens to our data after it's collected. It's about what's happening right there on the device, and how it could literally change our sense of who we are. Remember how these systems can pick up on preconscious thoughts? How they know you're going to make a mistake before you do? Well, what happens when the AI starts acting on those signals for you? When it corrects your typos before you even make them, or finishes your sentences before you've even fully formed the thought?
You can see the slippery slope, right? It starts out simple, you're in full control. Then the AI becomes an assistant, suggesting replies to make you faster. But the last step is the AI as an agent, where the system just acts on your behalf, based on your preconscious intentions, all to make things more efficient. And that's the big trade-off everyone is talking about, your personal agency versus speed.
And this is the deep philosophical risk that ethicist Nita Farahani points out. The things we say, the thoughts we express, they aren't just outputs. They're also inputs. They feed back into our brains and shape who we become. We literally talk ourselves into being who we are. So if an AI is constantly shaping what we express, it could start to unconsciously shape our core identity. So that's the question we're left with. The promise of this technology is amazing, to restore our bodies and enhance our minds. The peril is a world of surveillance and manipulation we can't even fathom. But the ultimate challenge is this. In a future where our technology can finish our thoughts for us, if an AI is shaping your expressions, who exactly are you becoming?